I'd like to welcome the MJB board members, JDC board members, society members, ambassadors, guests, and staff. This is an open forum, and I know that everybody in Israel is very excited to have you on the call and to be able to have you hear everything they've been working on. I believe that Asher Ostrin, the interim JDC CEO, will join us shortly. So today's MJB meeting is an Institute open forum. I'd like to welcome the MJB Executive Director, Professor Michael Hartall, and the MJB Executive Forum and researchers. We call that the Dream Team. So we've managed to extend our meeting 15 minutes to allow for discussion because we have some really interesting things to talk about and research that's going on during the COVID virus. So I hope that works out for everybody. And if not, leave when you have to. Today's open forum is titled Crunch Time, MJB during COVID. Early on in the COVID health crisis, Brookdale recognized that we could help the Israeli government protect lives and help keep families healthy. Our professionals provided critical and timely data and consulting to help the government make the smartest, best informed policy decisions for the entire nation. We will now see 3 video stories and meet some of Brookdale's unsung heroes who, through dedicated service under the most difficult lockdown conditions, helped shape health, social policy decisions, and they've affected the lives of millions. And I want to mention at this particular moment that when the lockdown occurred, 150 people from MJB were sent home to work from home. Many did not have computers, and they were homeschooling their kids, and it was unbelievably difficult. So what you've been able to achieve, Kol HaKavod, Brookdale, and I love your work. Okay, carry on, Michael.
Okay, thank you so much, Andy. And I really want to join you in saying how exciting this is. We're on an open forum meeting for Brookdale, and we have over 50 participants that are on this call right now. And I want to say hello and welcome to all of our familiar partners. And I want to extend a very warm welcome to some of you that may be attending a Brookdale meeting for the first time. And it's very exciting for us to have you here with us. And I'd also like to acknowledge the Myers-JDC-Brookdale executive team that are on this call right now, and the researchers that will be meeting shortly through these short videos. And you'll have a chance, after you've met them in their video clips, to actually talk to them on this call and to ask them some additional questions about the work that they're doing. There's a famous aphorism. It's often referred to as an ancient Chinese curse. I'm not sure about the veracity of that attribution. In any case, the saying goes, "May you live in interesting times." These are undoubtedly and undeniably very interesting times for all of us. In fact, living on Earth right now is a challenge. Being a leader right now is an even bigger challenge when we have to consider people's health, people's livelihood, the well-being of our employees and of their families, adherence to our work plans, adherence to our budgets. It's challenging. But as expected, living in interesting times is also interesting. And it turns out that at Myers-JDC-Brookdale, we have been able to do some pretty impressive, and I'd say even amazing work over the last few weeks and months at the height of the pandemic. In no small part, our ability to get stuff done and to help Israeli society, and also to share some of our findings with the global community during the COVID crisis, all of that is a direct result of investments and hard work and lots of sweat that we have put in together with you over the last 2 or 2.5 years. A lot of the processes that we've been working on together with our executive team and with the support and guidance of our lay leadership. And also, I just want to acknowledge that Asher Ostrand has joined us and is on the call, and together with his leadership as well. What are some of these processes that we've been working on over this last period? Agility, the ability to quickly identify, to pivot, to engage, and to get work done quickly. Rapid response, to get high quality results out fast so they can impact the decision cycle. Focused research, meaning being able to be issue specific and laser sharp on targeting the research that we need to do. We have started and completed processes of identifying the smartest, most versatile people on our team, helping them develop professionally and placing them in roles where they can drive the Institute forward. What else have we been doing? We've been using new tools to collect data and to analyze data. We have been working on new ways to present our study findings in clear, concise, practical research products. We've been encouraging innovation and bottom-up initiatives on research ideas and research priorities. We're doing more and more multidisciplinary, integrated teamwork. We've been making data-driven and evidence-based policy recommendations, which is exactly what our government partners need from us. And we've spent a lot of effort on international networking, exchange, and promoting benchmarking and best practices. And it's amazing to see that it all came together during COVID-19. Our teams created a series of outstanding information and research products. And following up on those research findings and products, they've been invited to get in the ring and to contribute to policy decisions and discussions. This all left our staff feeling very affirmed, confident, well-equipped to meet emerging challenges, and ultimately saying, this was the right move. And all of these things that we've been sweating on over the last 2 or 2.5 years have really been the right move for us. And finally, I'm really happy that we have an opportunity for you to meet some of these unsung heroes, the people that have been putting in the work and the sweat and the elbow grease and the long hours and the hard work to bring us where we needed to be and to be here just in time. So what we're going to do now is we're going to see a series of short films. Each of them will introduce 1 or 2 of our researchers that worked on an extremely relevant research product and topic and research issue during the COVID crisis. After each of these films, we'll stop and we'll have a chance to talk to the researchers who are here on the call with us and to ask them for any additional clarifications or have a conversation with them. So I'd like to move on to our first film. The first film we're going to see.
Can I interrupt for 1 second?
Sure,
I
of
forgot
course.
to say this in the beginning. So after each presentation, if you would like to ask a question, if you know how to hit the raise hand on the bottom of your screen, you can do that, or you can just raise your hand and we'll call on you. And the researchers can answer your questions or any comments you may have to make. And then I'd like to welcome the president of JDC, Mark Szyszki, who's also on the call. Thank you, Mark. Thanks, Asher. Okay, hit it, Michael.
Okay, thank you, Annie. So before we roll our first film, I'd just like to introduce the 2 researchers that we're going to meet now. The first, Dr. Michal Aron, you've actually met her already. And we had the great privilege of her attending the board meeting in New York in October of 2018, where she spoke to this forum. Then you met her as a research scholar on our aging team. She was also participating in our Pathfinder innovation team and working on groundbreaking research on affordable housing in Israel. Michal is amazing, and she's talented, and she was promoted to the level of senior research scholar just recently, and assumed the role of our health team leader in March of this year, just a month ago, or rather 3 months ago. She never imagined the challenges that she would face only days later. With her was Rachel Goldwag. She rejoined MJB several months ago. In fact, she had had an opportunity to work with us in the past and now came back to do some more projects with us just recently. These 2 smart, bright, talented, sharp women identified an incredible window of opportunity with the start of COVID, and they conducted agile, relevant, quick, focused research, exactly what was needed and exactly on time. So I'm going to ask Eitan to roll the first film, please. And during the film or afterwards, if you'd like to, just hit the participant button and raise your hand, and we'll be happy to call on you.
I'm Michal Aron, 8 years in Brookdale. Most of them, till now, in aging team. And I got a promotion 2 months ago to be the leader of health team. I didn't realize that in my first days in the job, I will need to face a worldwide pandemic which affects everyone, including my team. It was very clear to me that there is no chance that I will let this pandemic pass without the health team at Brookdale giving it any attention and make any research about it. So the first thing I did was to look for a partner.
I'm Rachel Goldwag. I'm a researcher in the healthcare team at the Brookdale Institute. The problem came upon us very quickly. We found ourselves, not just Brookdale, the whole country, the whole world, in this crazy new reality. And it was a health reality. And we as the healthcare team had to do something about it.
And we needed to do it fast because reality was changing rapidly. Every day was a different situation to deal with. And there was a first in the public and in the decision makers for data. It was totally new situation. We didn't know how to deal with it. No one did. No one knew.
So we started out by forming an ad hoc steering committee. We have a lot of relationships with people. The Institute has the relationships with people in the Ministry of Health, the health plans, and we contacted them and we said, what would you be interested in a survey about now that we have a new reality? We are all at home. We have restrictions that are kind of piling up every day, more and more, keeping us closer to home, less places we can go to, ourselves, our children, etc. What are you interested in learning about? And they were interested in hearing about the health behaviors of people. How were they changing? What were they doing more of or less of? And we figured that we could collect that information and supply it to the public arena so that they could figure out what to do with that really in real time.
We wanted to raise the awareness that the restrictions are really needed in order to restrict the infection, but it has side effects that should be taken into consideration. We decided to ask on a set of health habits that might change according to the restrictions.
Eating junk food, 2 questions specifically.
Sleeping, exercising, alcohol consumption, time you spend in front of screens.
And also some questions about emotional health and physical health.
Timing was crucial. We need to do it really fast. So we approached a panel survey company. It took us 2 weeks from the start to publish the first findings, and then another two weeks to conduct another survey. We were one of the first to bring the data into their arena.
Well, not surprisingly, people's behaviors changed while they were at home. But we were surprised by the amount that it changed. 40% of the people reported that they were eating more food than they had before Corona, and a similar number said that they were eating more junk food, more sweets and snacks than before. There were lots more people staring at screens more than they had been before. Again, almost 3/4 of the kids were looking at screens. That includes, of course, schoolwork and entertainment, but still, that's a lot higher. We found that people were exercising less. We found that there was more reports of depression, and there were also more people that were reporting feeling lonely. We found some positive outcomes as well. In addition to everything else, we found that half of the people reported eating family meals with their families more than they had before. And 20% of the people reported that they were smoking less or had quit smoking altogether.
Our findings were cited in a position paper for the Knesset and for the National Security Council, and we received wide media coverage in newspaper, in radio, and in television. We were invited to present our findings in front of professionals.
They were very happy to receive it and immediately started working with the data to look towards making new plans and policies based on what we found.
The health team at Brookdale is a unique player. On one hand, we have excellent connections with professionals from the Ministry of Health and from the health plans. And on the other hand, we are an objective actor, not connected to any of these organizations. So we can provide the information without being accused of promoting any agenda.
One of the things that we have at Brookdale is a core funding, which basically means that if it's deemed important enough, we can do a research study the day we think about it.
Everyone joined in and understood the situation and acted very fast.
From management,
Finance department,
and the ethics committee, the editing department, and then the external relations department, which really got it onto the website, published it out, and let the media come in and get that.
This is how we could do it quickly but professionally. One of the big challenges was the personal logistics. Both of us worked from home.
We had our kids jumping on us at all times of day and night.
Passover fell in the middle.
And we had noises, and we had meals to make, and lives to live, and we were also working.
It was exhilarating to take part of a research like this.
Sometimes when you work in research, you only find out a year or 5 years later that people read your stuff and were doing something about it. And this is something where we're already seeing the outcomes. We're good at what we do. That's who we are. We really want to help.
Amazing. You guys are great. Thank you so much. And they're here on the call, both Michal and Rachel.
Would anybody like to ask any questions?
I'd like to ask a question.
Okay, Linda.
Yes, hi. With everyone staying home, how did you collect your data? How did you find your population? How did that begin? Thank you.
Michal, you going to take that?
Yes, thank you for the question. Well, we applied to a panel survey company that has a panel of people who are regular in getting a survey conducting surveys, and we approached them. It was very quickly, and after a month later, we approached them again, the same cohort, and asked them how they were doing during the longest duration of being at home. And this is how we could make it quickly. And we
So Michal, yeah.
1,500 people.
Right, Michal made some very, very important points here, which was using the internet access to get people that are online to answer the questions through an internet survey. And she did a very meticulous approach, making sure that the sample that answered was representative of the Israeli population. The first round of the Jewish population, in the second round of the overall Israeli population, including Arabs, a little more difficult to weight that sample.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very large sample size, and something that that you may have caught when Michal mentioned is we went back to the same people a month later. So this was actually a study of a group of people over time, which is very, very unusual and a very good move on the researchers' part.
Do you think from your work now that the ministries will come back to you in a much stronger manner? I mean, I know that you are the go-to research institute in Israel, but do you think that this put you on a higher Richter scale for them now?
Well, for me, because I'm so new in the position and in the field, it was an opportunity with the support of Bruce to introduce myself and to meet professionals from the health arena. And they already reached us again and asked us, what about the findings? And we are about to develop research together with some of them regarding telehealth services and health from services from distance, and an issue that was raised during the period of the pandemic. So it was an opportunity for me to develop working contacts with professionals in the field, and I think it put us in a good position of working quick and doing a professional job and being proactive and at the same time making this communication to hear what are their precise needs, what is the information that they are that is missing, that they need to get, and to work in a collaboration that provide the data. Did I answer your question, Annie?
Yeah, it did. Thank you very much.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Nancy.
Hi, everybody. It's good to see everybody. I guess my question, hi, Carrie. Hi, everybody. I guess my question is, hopefully this will position us to be in the right place in the future to just toss aside the up-and-comers who wanted to vie for our position in the research department. Does anybody want to talk about that?
Yeah, I think that this has been a very good opportunity for us. You know, that crisis can be a time to, panic and close up and shut down. But if you can just sort of breathe deeply and take your own pulse and make sure that you're alive and doing well, there's so many opportunities to identify during a crisis. And I think that the fact that we have such a strong team of professionals that we're focused on getting the work done allowed us to be sharp and focused and quick and agile and responsive and to deliver, which ultimately, is king, right? If you provide the content and you're there on time and you're relevant, we've always been a strong and respected organization. But I think that now we also have gained more recognition for delivering and being there just when we're needed.
Thank you, Michael. Should we move on to the second video?
I saw that Claudio had his hand raised, and I think that Ted also had wanted to say something before we move on.
Go ahead,
We've got
Claudio.
plenty of time, so don't worry about that.
Okay. Claudia,
Michael,
you're on.
many of these health behaviors could be affected by the situation of these families. For example, people that needed to get out of the family to go to work, meaning their work required that they leave their houses, or people that lost their jobs permanently, or people that had an infected person within the house, quarantine in another room, and be able to, so the different level of anxiety and different factors that affected many of the conclusions that was here. Was that taken in consideration?
Michal, would you like to answer that?
Okay, maybe Rachel want?
Okay.
Sure. I'll answer that one. Thank you, Claudio. I like that question a lot because it was something that we looked at One of the interesting things that we found, we asked the people what they thought their financial future looked like based on based on Corona. And especially at the beginning, I think a lot of people had lost their jobs or they were placed on temporary leave and were looking quite down. And we looked at that factor and how it affected the health behaviors. And what we found was people that expected their finances to go way down, to exercise less, and to be more depressed, which makes sense. But we saw that in the data as well, very most important and interesting finding that we found.
Thank you.
Thank
Okay,
you, Raquel.
maybe I should add, we looked for the characteristics of the groups that are more vulnerable for changing their health habits, and one of the most vulnerable group that we found was the ones who expect their economic situation to get worsened because of the pandemic.
So one of the issues that we're always dealing with is the interconnectivity between health, welfare, human services, education. This is just another proof that those things go together and are inseparable. Annie, Ted had also wanted to.
Yeah, Ted, would you like to ask a question?
Yeah, could you give an example of what action was taken by the government in response to the important information that you provided?
Oh, that's good. Great
Yes.
question.
Okay, we were asked, as we said in the movie, we were asked by professionals to present our findings, and there is a group of professionals that wrote a position paper for the Knesset, and for they quoted data from our research. So it was like being part of the action team. They were advancing their agenda, but we were there to promote, to give them the information they needed.
The paper was also, the results were presented to a group of health educators and nutritionists working for the health maintenance organizations here in Israel, so that the Kupot Cholim, our HMOs, could target their audiences and provide specific targeted messages to different population groups based on the findings that we had, so that recommendations and programs were targeted based on real-time findings. Bruce, I saw that you had also wanted to say something. Would you like to add to that?
Yes, I want to add to the response to Ted's question. Can you hear me all?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Okay, so one of the big issues was, would people be getting exercise? And our findings about how much of a problem people having getting exercise at home fed into a government decision to allow people to go out more with their masks, of course, and to get more exercise. And I think this was important both for their long-term health to get exercise, but also help people be more vigilant about maintaining the restrictions, because if people were totally cooped up in their homes, the program would not have worked. And I also want to add one more general thing, that I think Michal and Rachel did this amazing job. I ran the health program for 30 years, and we always had a reputation for being solid and serious and objective, but we didn't have a reputation for being quick. And they have helped raise this program to a new level and a new positioning that Brookdale can be quick without sacrificing quality and objectivity. Thank you.
Thanks, Bruce. And Annie, I see that also Max Morris is raising her hand.
Okay, great, thanks. Maxine?
Hi, just very quickly, how big was the sample size, and is there any plan to turn this into a more longitudinal study and go back to these people again and again and again?
Okay, so we interviewed 1,500 people in the first round, and in the second round, we got to 1,241 of them, and we also interviewed an additional 307 from the Arab population. which is quite a nice sample size. The question about will we go back to them has already come up. The restrictions keep going up and down here, so it's kind of, right now we're allowed out some more, but they're talking about putting restrictions back on, so we don't really know what's going on. I think it would be nice to do a follow-up, even if it's 3 months from now or 6 months from now, to see how these people compare in regular times, hopefully, but we still don't know.
And I can also say that we used the second round of health behavior questions to start a new set of questions based on the use of telemedicine, so that we now have this cohort that's also answering a whole separate set of questions about their use of distance, medical consultation and treatment. And we're still learning those results. The Ministry of Health is extremely interested in that. So it's possible that we'll actually go back to that group again and learn more about it over time.
Thanks, Michael. I think one thing that MJB highlights in the JDC world, the uniqueness in the JDC world, is that you have an amazing, dedicated health team. So thank you to all the professionals. You did an amazing job.
Thank you.
Thanks, Michal, and thank you, Rachel. And now I'd like to move on to our next film and to our next researcher. We can't meet you in person yet, but holding the meetings through Zoom does have certain advantages because it allows us to introduce more of our staff and people that we may not have had a chance to meet in our regular board meetings in New York. Lital is an example of that. Lital Bar-Lev is the next researcher. We haven't met her before. She is a seasoned, experienced researcher on our disabilities team. And she took over responsibility for heading the disabilities team in October of 2018. Lital is a real pro. She knows a ton about disabilities, and she is very well respected in research circles, in government, in academia. And when COVID came around, she honed in on her research topic like a guided missile. And she took initiative immediately, and she helped us really achieve some very amazing results. So Eitan, why don't you show us Lital's film?
I am Lital Bar-Lev, and I am the Disabilities Team Leader at Brookdale Institute. When COVID-19 broke out, more than 130 countries shut down their education systems. This closure was very difficult for all students and parents, but particularly difficult for children with disability and their families. First, for children with disability, routine is critical. Changes to routine and can cause regression in different areas of life, and also can cause challenging behavior. Second, distance learning can be difficult for all students, but particular for children with disabilities. Third, the special education system is not only schools. It provides also a lot of therapies like physical therapy, speech therapy. When the schools closed, also all these therapies closed. Finally, children with disability need around-the-clock supervision. The kids are at home, especially now. They can't go out, and the only one that deals with the problem is the parents. Also, the grandmother and grandfather can't help today, so the parents are very tired emotionally and physically. We wanted to help the Ministry of Education to find solutions and guidelines. No one knew how to deal with this crisis and what is the best way to meet the needs of the parents and the children. We knew that there is a lot of countries dealing with this issue, and there is probably best practice out there. So we decided to conduct a global review and to see how other countries dealing with this crisis. We have a lot of experience studying special education in Israel and around the world. We also have a lot of international connection that we developed over the years. It helps us know what to look for and where. We studied New York and California in United States, and also we studied England, Spain, Germany, Australia, and Argentina. We saw a real range of how countries are solving this problem. For example, in Germany and England, the special education system continued to operate in a limited format for children with complex disabilities. Some countries develop guidance for the parents, how to take care of the children. Other countries had a digital platform for therapy online. We brought this review to the Ministry of Education, and their response was, this is exactly what we needed. It's helped them to develop Israel guidelines for the special education systems, distance learning, guidance for the parents, therapy centers. Following the publication of the document, I was invited to a roundtable of the Ministry of Education that deal with special education in Corona time. Mariela Yabo, a researcher in my team, one of the authors of the review, invited to present this issue at a national online conference. It was not easy to do it. I have 3 children, 2 of them with ADHD, and my husband is a doctor in a hospital, and he worked all day long. We all felt satisfied because we succeeded to produce a relevant paper in a short time. It was a joint effort. This study made the relationship with the Ministry of Education stronger. The ministry had a need, and we answered it.
All right, hey, Lital.
Thank you, Lital. Lital, can I ask a question? Did you see any differences between the American policies and the Israeli policy for caring for children with disabilities during the coronavirus?
Hi, thank you for the questions. There are some things similar in United States and Israel. Both Israel and United States shut down the special education system. We have seen some countries, other countries, that the special education system had continued to operate partially. Another thing similar, in the routine, every student in special education has an individual curriculum. At the time of the crisis, no individual curriculum was built for each student. Not in Israel and not in the United States. But we found some different, especially at New York. They dedicated online curriculum for students with disability and at the federal level. While in Israel, the responsibility for the curriculum was at the school level. And also we found that on their New York Department of Education's website, a variety of online activities and learning material, especially for kids with disability. And in Israel, we don't have these materials.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to ask a question before we move on? Yeah, Leah?
Leah,
Sorry.
unmute.
Yeah. I got it. Thank you. Hi, everyone. It's good to see you all again. For those who don't know me, my name is Leah Moran-Gilad, and I'm the family group leader. And Lital, I'm very proud of you. Lital, whose clip you just saw, is one of the team leaders in the family group, together with Yoa, leader of the Children and Youth team, and Shirley, who is the leader of the Aging team, and Dory, leader of the Marginalized Population team. And Lital had just explained about the literature review we did during the Corona time. but she was too modest to talk about the impact it had on the Ministry of Education. And I would like Lital to ask you to elaborate more on that. But before you tell us about the paper's impact, I would like also to share with you how proud I am of the researchers of the family group. Over the past 2 months, we, the family group, concentrated much of our efforts towards producing timely research outputs that have immediate relevance to the government sector and to the population in Israel. As part of these efforts, we produced a series of papers that have been rapidly shared across with our stakeholders across the government. And I believe that our ability to respond to urgent needs during this difficult time, while at the same time continuing our normal business and existing commitments, allowed us to remain relevant, and our outputs were very well received. On a personal note, I am very grateful to my entire team for their sustained efforts, which is a testimony to our resilience. And I will now hand over to Lital, who will elaborate further on the paper and how it informed the actions and policy taken by the Ministry of Education. Thank you again, Lital, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Leah. I think there are two reasons why it was so important. One is timing. The timing of the publishing of the paper was at the right time, exactly when the Ministry of Education wrote the Israelis guidelines. We wrote this document within 3 days. We worked quickly and we gave it under the right time. Also, it was very relevant because we were able to identify the most important issue that the ministry dealt with. Our document was very relevant and addressed the issues they discussed on the ministry. This document offered them new ideas, but even the ideas that they already knew were important because they supported that their solution is good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Annie, may I ask a question, please?
Sure. Go ahead, Leslie.
You know, there's so much time and newspaper and other space now being devoted in the United States, at least, to how to open up. And there are two subjects that are really critical right now in the United States. Certainly summer and summer camp, even though camp is a staple of American life, and it is it's a staple of American Jewish children's lives as well because of our emphasis on Jewish camp. And the second piece is there's huge indecision around how the schools generally, both Jewish schools and secular schools, are going to open up in the fall. Everything from child, pre-kindergarten, all the way through the whole thing. Has your research given you any, at least thoughts about that subject?
I'm sorry, but not. We dealt with the issues that was relevant on March. We published our paper at March 29, I think, and everybody deal about how to do distance learning, how to give these children therapies, and now we are in the second phase, but not, we didn't deal with this. Sorry.
Thank you. Okay. Michael, want to move on to the third film?
Sure, happy to. So in the third film, we're going to move back into the area of health. And I'd like to introduce you to Ruth Waitsberg. She is an example of how we invest in the long run in the development of our staff. Ruth is working towards her PhD in health policy in a joint program between Ben-Gurion University in Beersheba and the Technical University of Berlin. And we worked with Ruth and with the team leader and with Bruce, the group leader, to tailor a program that would allow her to both study and do her doctoral work with part-time in Berlin, while still working part-time for the Institute from Germany. Turned out to be the best decision ever, because we would not have been able to carry out this next project, which has global impact, without having her on board. Together with Ruth, you'll have an opportunity to meet, or maybe say meet again, Nadav Penn. Nadav started with us on a project-based contract back in 2018. In fact, in 2018, he came on to our staff on a temporary basis to work with Michal Aron, who we met in the first film, on their joint project on affordable housing on the Pathfinder innovation team. And Nadav is so impressive and talented as a researcher, and such an overall nice guy that we jumped on the opportunity to sign him on as a core employee. And today he continues to work with Michal and has now repositioned working together with Michal on the health team. In fact, I said meet him again because you recently met Nadav through our most recent Meet the Researcher video. If you missed it, you can find that one and many other great Brookdale videos on our MJB YouTube channel. And this is an opportunity to say that following up on this meeting, we will send out links to our YouTube channel, where you can see these videos that we've seen here today, together with a lot of other interesting short video material. It's an opportunity to meet some of our other researchers. It's an opportunity to see some of the other work that we're doing, interesting things in English, some of it in Hebrew that might be useful and certainly will be interesting. So on to our last video, and Eitan, can you take us there, please?
Wait, can I say something before we start? Because you just presented me and the PhD, and I just wanted to tell you that tomorrow I'm defending my PhD thesis at Ben-Gurion University. So I need a lot of good energy from all of you.
Good luck,
Coming
Ruth.
your way.
And I am a researcher at the Brookdale Institute.
Hi, I'm Nadav. I'm a researcher at the healthcare team at Brookdale Institute.
I'm talking to you from Berlin, where I have been living for the past 10 months to finish my joint PhD between Ben-Gurion University and the Technological University of Berlin. When the pandemic just started, policymakers from all countries were desperately searching for ideas and examples of policy responses to such a new, unexpected and threatening crisis. This was even more necessary within the healthcare system, as policymakers didn't know how much equipment there was necessary to meet the pandemic needs. So, for example, how many ICU bed units would be needed? How many masks should they be buying?
Who's being tested? How many people are being tested daily? Where are they being tested?
Another concern was that countries were making super fast decisions in a situation of great uncertainty.
The problem was there was too much information lying around, and was problem getting the correct data and the relevant data.
Ministries were reaching each other, but there was no platform that pulled all the information together. In early March, the Israeli Ministry of Health approached me asking detailed information about Germany because I am living in Berlin. When I saw COVID-19 spreading outside China and reaching Israel and Europe in early March, I got really stressed. First of all, because I understood that this would be a game changer. Quickly, that became my top priority. It was clear that this was one of the biggest global crises the healthcare systems would ever face. As a research specialized in healthcare systems and health policy, I couldn't just stand still.
The European Observatory is a subsidiary of the WHO, of the World Health Organization. They started this project of collecting data from different countries about what they do in accordance with the pandemic.
The observatory team put together a set of standardized questions so the information could be collected in a comparable manner. How are they reorganizing hospitals? How are countries paying for their health professionals?
What kind of procedures still happen in other hospitals around the world? What kind of surgery is still happening and during this virus? Brookdale is the representative of Israel, so we are the body, and Ruth is our representative.
We were in charge to describe Israel's responses to the pandemics and how it attempted to contain the spread of the virus. We were in touch with the Ministry of Health to get this information. We also collected this information from the media and from the press.
As researchers, we know how to look for things. We know how to make it accessible afterwards, to write it in a clear way.
We gathered all the necessary information and we wrote it in a language that would be easy for policymakers to understand.
After that, we published the document online, and it was easy to compare to other countries as well in this platform.
And we put the Israeli context in a way that people from outside would understand what's going on in our country.
Since then, we've been updating constantly about new regulations and testing capacities and who gets tests, so everything concerning the coronavirus on a public policy aspect. For now, we know that several countries or officials from different countries contacted Ruth for more information.
For example, the president of the European Public Health Association asked me about the application Hamagen that does the digital tracing of infected individuals. I provided information and bridged between the president of the European Public Association and the responsible person at the Ministry of Health. And they were in touch later to see how they could adapt this app to other European countries.
Working during this time was obviously different. Ruth is based in Berlin, in Germany, so we had to do this long distance. Ruth was really on top of things. Like, she was non-stop working.
I started working very early in the morning before the kids woke up, and I kept working at night after they went to bed. I didn't take weekends, I didn't take holidays. I had to take care of the kids, homeschool them, I'm still homeschooling them, entertain the little one, and somehow be in touch with my mother, who made Aliyah from Brazil 1 month before the pandemic started.
Usually we're alienated from our research subjects, so we research something that does not have anything to do with what we experience in our daily lives. I think the pandemic, what was different, that we're studying something that has a direct impact on our lives. I'm writing things that are right for me as well. So in that instance, it was odd. I would sum up the latest instructions from the Ministry of Health and then, try to figure out what it means for me. Because, if you have to put a mask in public, then Nadav also has to wear a mask. Friends would ask me, to help them understand the new regulations and everything, and I would struggle because sometimes it was really hard to understand what you're really supposed to do at this moment in time.
It was not so easy to understand what was going on in Berlin. I had to read news from both countries, from Germany to know how to behave, and from Israel to know what was going on and report to the European Observatory.
This was a really important project and a really interesting project.
I'm happy, obviously, and proud to be able to do my part and contribute in the fight against COVID-19 pandemic, because it provided timely information from reliable sources translated into policy language that helped policymakers shape better responses for the COVID-19. We did our part representing Israel, and other countries benefited from it. But Israel also benefited because other countries also gathered the data and presented it in the platforms.
I hope that the long-term effect of this project would be that Israel and a lot of other countries as well would study what they did, what other countries did, and then have a more robust system in the future. On a different note, the research itself, I think it would be useful for other researchers in the future. So obviously we'll see a lot of papers, scientific papers coming out on this event. A lot of it will be related to public policy, I'm assuming. And what the database we created would be a really useful tool for a lot of these researchers.
This was a beautiful collaboration and a nice example of how cross-country research benefits policymakers of our countries.
What Brookdale did was put the information in a credible site owned by the WHO. That way, when you're a policymaker, this would be the first place you'd go to.
All right, good job, Ruth and Nadav.
All I can say is wow. Do we have questions from the floor? Ruth and Nadav, that was incredible. Ruth, can you tell us something about the situation in Israel today?
Yes, actually, the pandemic is not over, and we keep updating the platform almost on a daily basis. And we saw that there was a new outbreak of sick people among schools in Jerusalem and other cities in Israel. And that led to a big change in the policy of the testing of the population. So the new Minister of Health increased or broadened the policy of testing and included anyone that was in touch with people that was diagnosed positive. So if before this new second wave, we could say, only people with symptoms would be tested, now anyone is being tested. And the reason is that they want to avoid as much as they can a second lockdown. So the moment you identify the sick people,
an hour, and we won't go over by a lot, and we'll be going. Okay, sorry.
Go ahead. Sorry, Ruth.
Sorry.
So the moment you identify potential sick people earlier, then you can stop the spread because you send these people to quarantine earlier and they stop infecting other people. So this is something that we have been updating in the platform, for example, we are one of the first countries to have this kind of second wave, and other countries will look at Israel and what kind of responses Israel is doing to guide themselves for their next second waves. Hopefully they won't have any, but probably they will. Let's be frank. So this is something we are updating. And I must say that Israel was one of the first countries to react to the pandemic, and it closed its borders very early, and it delayed the entrance of the virus in 1 month compared to European countries. So I think that Israel was a good example for many other countries. And I think that this platform kind of emphasizes that.
Thank you, Ruth. Do we have other questions? Yes, Myron?
Ruth, what age group did you test with getting the second coronavirus? Is that a very young group or is that a college group?
So from what I know, it's mostly secondary students, secondary school students, and they are being tested. The whole school is screened once one person is positively diagnosed. So the entire school is screened, and also the families of the children are being screened. And this is a novelty because until now, the families wouldn't be screened.
Yeah, I think that's very important because basically we're just opening up here I live in Los Angeles, but we're just opening up here in the United States, and the students are going back to school. This is the first week that the early education has just opened up, and we have no idea what's going to be happening. We're hoping that young children do not get reinfected or infected, but we don't know yet. We have no research on that.
Thank you. Does anybody else have questions they'd like to ask at this time? Nancy?
Hi. I have part of my family is in Jerusalem, extremely, extremely religious. One of my great nephews, 10 kids, big surprise. One of my great nephews was tested positive, was in a yeshiva, 14 years old, came home and quarantined and was tested twice or 3 times, and he seems to be fine. But I haven't heard that that community understands retesting. I'm wondering if there isn't a way to make sure that information gets to that group.
Well, you raised a very important point, and actually we wrote a paper about this population. Not only the Haredis in Israel need some special responses because they might not understand retesting, for example, but they have their cultural and other ways of living that need a special attention and a special response. And the government of Israel, it took some time, but it understood that it should address these kind of populations in a different way. The same thing with the Arabs, for example, and the Bedouins in the Negev. And yes, well, everybody knows that the ultra-Orthodox population was among one of the most infected ones because they behave in such a different manner. They live in crowded areas, crowded buildings. They have a very intense social life. They go to the synagogue 3 times a day. And the responses that the government had to do were different. So, for example, the army got, first of all, they curfewed Jerusalem and Bnei Brak and other cities with higher levels of infection. And the army was there to help them. So they tried to bring food for these people, because if you have to go to the supermarket and you queue in the supermarket, then you can have higher chances of getting infected. So yes, this is something that was unique in Israel, I think. And the paper we wrote kind of tried to inspire other countries, because every country will have this kind of minorities, this kind of cultural minorities that would need special responses. For example, here in Germany, you have all the immigrants, the Syrians, the Turkish, that they have the Ramadan. It was also a big deal in all these countries. So I think that, yes, this is a very important question, and we thought about it.
Thanks. Yes, Michal?
Yes, I just want to mention that we are sitting here, 4 of us members from the health team. And when I was saying that the pandemic had an impact on my team, this is one of the aspects of it, that we were all on top of all our program, working program, or doing this research on the Corona pandemic, and I had the opportunity to get to be impressed by their amazing abilities of this amazing team. So I'm proud of them.
Thank you, Michal. Would anybody else like to ask a question at this time? Anything you want to discuss? So I just want to say—
Yonita's raising her hand, Annie.
Who is?
Our quality and social services team.
You can see from there. I try to look at the screen, but you have X-ray eyes, I think. Go ahead.
You're muted.
Okay, now I'm not in mute. Hello, I'm Yonit, and I am the head of the quality department, and I arrived to the institute in the Corona time. So I have a new way of seeing things, because I'm really a new arrival. And what really makes me exciting is to see all the people, how committed they are, because they all feel that really what they are doing, they really influence the people that get decisions in such complexity period. You asked before how we see that people take what we say, include in their decision, the people that leading things here in Israel. So people from the wealth official calls us all the time and ask, because of this, after they read all the Corona papers that we send, so they ask us what we think, what we suggest them. You cannot imagine this, because it can be a call at night, in the morning, people from many places, and that really, I think that this will lead us to new places in the next trip. We are a part of, in Israel, we call it a round table of youth in risk in the Prime Minister office. And we also got people, they asked us to build tools that will be a part of the policy, how to react the next time that something like this will happen. And when they ask us for such tools, it's really very important because they really understood that we can help them to build a policy. And I think that this is a very big change in the welfare ministry.
Thank you, Yonit. You know, I have to say the research that you've produced and the position that you've elevated Brookdale, MJB, to is astonishing. I mean, really, really astonishing. And I hope everyone on this call realizes that MJB's fingerprints now touch all people, all groups, and almost all health and social issues in Israel. I hope also that MJB is better understood by board members and by ambassadors and society members on the phone, because I think we could be at a new juncture. Because of our last call, our Brookdale meeting, many people joined and they were really excited, and I think they heard things differently and there's a new understanding. And the partnership between MJB and JDC, I think, is stronger than it's ever been. So I think for that and so much more that you've done for the population of Israel, the fabric of Israel, we all thank you. Thank you very much. Michael, would you like to say anything before we adjourn the meeting?
If it's okay with you, Annie, I just want to acknowledge again that Mark Sisiski's on the call and just ask if he has anything that he'd like to add. Maybe he had to leave in the meantime. So
no, I'm here.
Okay.
I would say kol hakavod, and Annie, thank you for your leadership, and we're lucky to have you. And so is Myers-Brookdale. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
Yeah.
So
Thank you, Marcia, for being on the call.
I just wanted to say that it takes a lot of effort to make things look easy. And when we see these young, talented, devoted researchers who say, yeah, we jumped in and we did the work and we got it done, they put a lot of effort into making things look so easy. And I think that together with the support of our lay leadership, everybody here at Brookdale has really been preparing for this crunch time for quite a while, with processes, with planning, with changes, with updates, with staffing changes, with priorities, changing the language. We just didn't know that the crunch time would look like this, but it's really good to know, and we're very proud of the work that we did and of the impact that we were able to make. And we always say about Brookdale, we don't have any patents, and we don't have any proprietary holdings, and we don't have any sophisticated machinery, and we don't have a secret sauce. What we do have is people, strong, smart, dedicated, devoted, energetic, and innovative people, and you had a chance to meet a few of them, and in the future, I hope that you have a chance to meet some more. These really are our unsung heroes, and when you support us, you're supporting them and the work that they do to strengthen Israeli society. So I just want to say thank you so much to everyone for being here at this forum with us. And Annie, as always, thank you for your wonderful leadership. We really love working with you.
Thanks. You make it easy. So for our viewing audience, everybody that joined, we're on a roll now. So please come back anytime. It's an open forum. The more you know, the more you'll want to come back and learn. So thank you for your time. We all really, really enjoy it. And thank you. We appreciate it greatly.
Thank you, everybody.